So today I'm answering another question from members of my community, and this one is about belonging to many different Facebook groups and following lots of sobriety pages on Instagram. How much is too much? And it's something that I actually had to deal with personally because I found that my social media feed, particularly Facebook, became overwhelming. It was just too much for me. And I want to address that today because I think it's something that can quite quickly get out of control if we don't put measures in place to manage it. And what you can also find is that some of the posts in certain groups can actually be kind of triggering or demotivating. Some people don't like reading about those who've gone back to day one for the 15th time, or they don't like seeing people who've hit a big milestone. It can make them feel less than, which can also be triggering. So we need to take care about what media we digest. And while I'm on the topic, take care what media you digest across the board. Think about the news. I watched a documentary recently, and it was a journalist who was talking about how they sell news to people. News sells on emotion, and it's the same with social media. News organisations want to get an emotional reaction. And the journalist who was speaking said how they can trigger various different emotions through their stories: happiness, sadness, fear, and the biggest one and the easiest, he said, to cause in people is anger. When they find a story that makes people angry, such as the petrol crisis or certain criminal behaviour, they can make that story run and run and just keep making people angry over and over again. And we're letting this media into our lives. So just like our diet and the food we put into our bodies, I think it's important to pay attention to the media that we digest. And as you probably know, some news outlets are worse than others. Some will sensationalise things. Some go out of their way to make you feel angry because they want to sell advertising space. Whereas other news outlets can be far more balanced and they don't take the sensationalist angle. All I'm saying is manage your feed because it can create low-level anger, fear, worry, you name it. It can all be going on in the background, and that doesn't lead for a healthy existence. So just take the time to spring clean your media feed and think about the news that you're digesting. And the same applies to the original question about social media. There's many brilliant sobriety communities and stop drinking groups that you can join. I run my own group which is called Be Sober, B-E Sober. You can find it on Facebook. It's a fantastic free community. But of course, if you join multiple communities like that, your feed is soon going to be clogged up and all you're going to be seeing is posts about stopping drinking, which can be really overwhelming. So take the time to just look at how many you belong to and whether you need to mute some of the groups. You don't necessarily need to leave the groups. You can just silence them so they don't appear in your feed. And that might just be enough. So you also want to be spring cleaning that. Personally, I think 2 or 3 good groups is actually more than enough. I know some people who follow my channel belong to my members group, which is a small, really kind, warm, caring community. If you're not in my members program, you can join now. The website address is on the screen and you can try it totally free. But that's an amazing group to belong to. But be careful if you belong to multiple groups and you're finding that your feed is becoming flooded. It's our own responsibility to take care of that. Otherwise we can just find ourselves getting triggered, not really understanding why, and before we know it, that trigger can be something that perhaps even leads to us wanting to drink. So just be mindful of it. I think the more we can look after these basic things and do some housekeeping around the media that we consume, the more we're going to set ourselves up for success. Now, I've predominantly been talking about Facebook and Facebook groups. As I say, 2 or 3 groups I think is more than enough, but you decide. And of course, if there's people in the groups who you find triggering, you can mute them as well. You don't need to see their stuff, or just scroll past rather than getting embroiled in emotional reactions. But what I didn't touch on was Instagram. Instagram can be a bit different because you choose who you follow. And most of the pages that talk about an alcohol-free life, you can see my page on the screen right now, are very inspirational and motivational. You tend not to see the back to day one again posts. That really isn't on there. You tend to see those more in the Facebook groups. Whereas on Instagram, you can pick and choose who you follow. And I actually think that sometimes Facebook groups can be a bit of a pity party and Instagram can be more of a positivity party. Now, I know that's a bit of a sweeping statement. Facebook groups were amazing for me, and in the main they absolutely are, but there can be some things on Facebook that can really touch an emotional nerve, whereas Instagram, it tends to be much fewer and farther between. So if you're really looking for some positivity and motivation, I recommend looking at Instagram. If you're looking for community and connection, then Facebook groups are probably going to be for you. But just be careful and pick and choose what you want to see in your feed. And if anything is triggering, just fine tune it. You don't have to see what you don't want to see. You've got the choice, you've got the control. But just take the time to actually do it rather than just allowing your feed to be flooded with things that you don't want to see. So hopefully that helps. Let me know what you do around social media and sobriety. How many groups do you belong to? Do you use Instagram on your alcohol-free journey? Let me know what's worked for you, and post a comment too if you found something to be triggering. What is it that bothers you about these groups and these pages on Instagram? I would love to hear it. I read all the comments and I try and respond to as many as possible. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday. A lot of time and a lot of effort goes into running this channel and keeping it free. So I'd love you to subscribe. Just hit the red box on the screen at the moment and the bell icon and you'll get notified every time there's a new video. And it's an amazing community to be part of. And it's another one where you're not going to probably read those negative posts that's not going to cause anything triggering. It's definitely just motivation, learning and connection. So I'd love you to be part of that if you're not already. And until next time, I'll see you very soon.